Hey neighbor, welcome back to Beyond ARTV and another installment of News It or Lose It, where you get the details of what's going on in the world of music, along with a healthy dose of my opinion. Today we're talking about some unfortunate allegations surrounding the now ex-bassist of the band A Day to Remember. The Rockers have been active since 2003, and Joshua Woodard, their bassist, was a founding member and is now exited after allegations have resurfaced. Allegations that originally broke in mid to early 2020, and there were several cases dating back a few years, and while there had been talks of him possibly kind of being a creep in the scene undercover for a while, something that allegedly other members of the band knew about, nothing was really confirmed or else set in stone until the accusations started rolling out on Twitter. There was a primary allegation that was since deleted, and there was kind of a big silence for a while, and the band themselves didn't say anything in 2020. Still to this day, haven't really said anything. Josh Woodard did provide a statement on his Twitter and social media accounts in 2020, but it's again since been removed, and all I can share with you is this screen cap from Loudwire. Now, Loudwire reported on this multiple times, as did a lot of outlets, and it was unfortunate to see that apparently they had been in contact with multiple victims accusing him of various things, but of course the most severe of those, and the one that we have concrete details for, is someone accusing Josh of raping her when she was only 16 years old. This is something that allegedly happened backstage. The girl claimed to have been drunk, and that Josh had his way with her. It's a very unfortunate thing if true, but not a lot of details continued to come out throughout the year until, of course, now in 2021, after A Day to Remember went back out on their re-entry tour. I guess after seeing that poster, we should have known that bad things were coming for the band. They're not exactly having a great year. They're coming off of what I felt was a horrible album. Fan reception was all over the place, but music aside, Josh just having these allegations of being a terrible person have been coming out more and more. And the Bombshell for me is something that I discovered thanks to the Pop Punkers subreddit. Shout out to them for doing some of the detective work here. Josh Woodard allegedly killed someone and was convicted of vehicular manslaughter in 2017. This is something that I hadn't heard about at all. Of course, I'm going to be sharing receipts on screen now just so it doesn't look like I'm pulling this out of thin air. There's also resources linked in the description down below. There's a lot of very damning evidence that makes this line up to actually being the Joshua Woodard that we know from A Day to Remember. He was driving his Tesla, allegedly crossed multiple lanes of traffic, and then slamming into a smaller car, killing a 24-year-old man. All he got off with, if this actually is, which all signs point to it being, but I have to say for the sake of legal well-being for myself, that this is not something that I've confirmed. I have read all of the documents, and again, they are linked down below. The case number, you can look it all up. The height, the eye color, everything absolutely matches, including the city. It would just be the biggest coincidence of all time if somebody else also happened to be named Joshua Woodard getting into this accident, being the exact same age and everything like that. But again, I cannot confirm that it explicitly is him because no one in the band or Joshua himself have confirmed this. But to get off with only a 12-month license suspension and a very minimal fee, I'm talking less than $2,000, just seems incredibly fucked for whoever it is. I mean, I know people who have received DUIs, driving under the influence of alcohol or something else, and they get way more severe penalties. This dude must have pulled some strings with lawyers galore. Now, speaking of lawyers, that's where we get back into 2021 and the misconduct allegations and the allegations. We have a Twitter user named Kaya that talked about this in a little bit more detail. It started with a tweet from Andy. He's also in a couple of different bands in the scene, more than 20,000 followers on Twitter. They said, I was on pop punk Tumblr a lot in the early 2010s. I remember when the A Day to Remember bassist allegations began. They were acknowledged by the band. I even remember Jeremy claimed that they talked to him about his behavior. 10 years later, they deny it ever happening. This, of course, casts major doubt on the fact that A Day to Remember seemingly haven't really said much and don't claim to really know anything about Josh Woodard and his alleged actions, but let's go ahead and move over to somebody, an actual accuser, that quoted this tweet. Kaya Eve on Twitter, who I believe was the original one that accused him of rape in the first place, said, "To clarify what happened to me after I came out with what he did to me, he hired a private investigator to come to my home, harassed me with phone calls, served me a lawsuit. He thought I wouldn't do shit, but I hired a lawyer. My lawyer responded to his petition with a detailed statement about what he did." More details arrived in a follow-up tweet where Kaya said, "Once the statement I made reached his lawyer, they dismissed the lawsuit the day before court, as I can only assume it is because he didn't want my statement about him raping me to be public record. Hope that clears some of this up for y'all. Oldest move in the rapist playbook." I think I may have accidentally gotten tongue-tied and called him Josh Woodard a few times. It's Josh Woodard, but the point still stands. To recap what led up to this, again, A Day to Remember just this year. They put out their album in March. They just went out on this tour. They just started the re-entry tour. And Josh exits the band a few days after the tour starts, in the middle of tour, just walking away after these allegations on Twitter and other places like Reddit resurface. And something seems extremely weird to me. This also came just days after they announced a tour overseas with Bring Me the Horizon. This makes me think that maybe Bring Me the Horizon and their team just weren't aware of what the allegations entailed, and Josh decided that he pretty much had to walk away from the band so as not to ruin it for everyone else. But I find it so odd that what finally got him to step away from the band was pressure on another band that was touring with them, and just to leave in the middle of a tour. If you were going to leave because you didn't want to tarnish the band's name, wouldn't you have done that before the album came out earlier this year? Or before you were literally posting about the tour on your Instagram and future ones? Josh's new statement reads, "In the summer of 2020, I released a statement addressing false allegations that were made against me online. At the time, with the pandemic and my daughter on the way, I personally decided to pause legal proceedings against the accuser once the post was removed. These accusations have unfortunately resurfaced within the last few days, and I must act accordingly. It is not fair to my bandmates and brothers to be attached to or targeted because of any of this, so I have made the decision to step down from my position in the band as of today. I will be leaving tour to be with my family and continue to defend my innocence in these matters. I know who I am and who I am not. I admit wholeheartedly that I am not a perfect person and I have made mistakes in life. I strive every day. I am given to be a better person, husband, father, bandmate, and friend." 18 years after A Day to Remember started, and bassist Josh Woodard is officially gone from the band. He didn't really have any writing credits with them. I don't see this as being a huge loss. And also, I don't necessarily understand why this wasn't a decision that they made sooner rather than so much later. There's just been deafening silence. And I understand the whole not wanting to handle it in the court of public opinion type of mentality to approaching a sensitive case like this. But you have to understand that in this modern age, I feel like silence also speaks to maybe they're guilty, maybe they're not saying anything for a reason. Even just a little acknowledgement or even saying we're working on legal proceedings, it would definitely help. And I just feel that so many people took that silence as a guilty charge. Not saying that it is that, but silence can often speak volumes. This Josh Woodard thing became a very tangled web very quickly, and again, I'm gonna leave links to some of the things that I was talking about just so you have a direct resource and aren't just going off of what I'm telling you. I compiled all of this together, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. You can check out, I guess, my thoughts on their album On Screen, another news update on screen as well. All of my socials in the description, and I'll be back soon for more on Beyond ARTV.